everything's conditioning. I mean, I want to just say everything's conditioning. It's no different than
You're absolutely correct.
we talked about this the other day. It doesn't even occur to me to eat at a place that has a drive-through. And I used to love drive-through food. I love Taco Bell. It's one of my favorite things in the world is Taco Bell. I get 2 cheeseritos and a Mexican pizza. And anybody listening,
Yeah.
they're going to go, "What the heck is that?" Because they're a long time ago.
I've never had a Taco Bell. Is it good?
But oh my gosh, it was really good. Well, now I eat it and it's kind of I'd just soon pass. But I'm not. I'm just saying it doesn't even occur because my conditioning of my mental conditioning is that I don't even think about it. It doesn't even
Mm.
occur to me. If I'm hungry and I'm out or about or something, I'm either just going to wait till I get home or I'm going to, the least deal I'll pick is a place to go sit down because I know that nutrition's important and I've got to be thoughtful about it and I've got to be strategic about it.
One of the greatest gifts that I feel like one of the greatest gifts that my parents gave me was my dad was a chef and he taught me how to cook for myself. And
Hmm.
I've never feared it. And I realized that I'm different than a lot of other folks. And not better, but just different because their parents didn't teach them how to cook and they fear meal prep or, going to the grocery and procuring the right items and stuff like that. Now, I've also honed it now down to where I don't want to be cooking for 90 minutes a night and preparing this amazing supper and blah 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 and mise en placing for 20 and yada yada yada. I'd like to have it, having a family and having a busy life and you want to not spend an hour and a half in the kitchen. I get that, but just being being open to cooking for myself has been such a huge gift, man. And I'm teaching that to my children. So
Yeah, we've always done that. It's interesting because I'm kind of the same thing. I can cook pretty much anything, but it's gotten down where it's pretty simple. I mean,
yeah,
well, when you're talking about that, it kind of comes into, but it kind of goes into this topic of, strategic versus tactical.
mm-hmm.
So,
Explain what that means
well,
because
well, okay. Somebody says, "Well, I really want to eat well. I'm gonna go eat. I want to eat well." That's a strategic. You're making a strategic decision to eat better.
yep,
I want to eat healthy.
conscious effort. Yep,
Whatever it is, because there's 9 million diets out there, but you want to do something different.
yep,
Tactical is that I've got to go to the grocery store,
yep.
that I have to plan out my meal, that I've got to cook
Correct. Meal
this.
prep.
That's
Got
tactics.
to get the
You know,
containers. Yep.
yeah, and I think what happens in
That's the
most
work.
that's it is it's the work, and most of the time people get really caught up in the tactics and they forget the strategic of
Okay.
what's going to happen, and so
Or do they?
because they well, let me give you an example. We were just talking. I just said drive through because they're not being strategic. They're not being they made a strategic decision. They said, I want to eat better. Okay. Well, how are we going to do that? And then didn't get up, didn't have breakfast, start thinking, well, I got to have something. I got really busy.
Yep.
And, so tactically, I'm making a decision at the moment. Forget what my strategy is. I'm going to make a tactical decision to go eat someplace with a drive through. And the two have to go hand in hand. You can't have a strategy and make tactical decisions that aren't lined up with that strategy. And in the world of fundraising, it happens all the time. And I don't and it doesn't matter. It's fundraising anything. It happens. So an example is we need to raise $100,000, and we're selling. We've got 25 tables, and we're selling them for $2,500 a piece.
Okay.
The math doesn't work. You know, you don't have enough math there because you're not going to get there your $100,000 because your cost and everything else. So you're doing that, and somebody makes the decision. Well, that's what we've done, and that's what we think our people can afford.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and
Because
so you're making a
we
you're
did it
making a
that way in
tactical
2019.
you're making a tactical decision without the strategic decision that you made originally, and both of those are really important. If you're going to build, um, somebody said a long time ago, somebody said we're going to build a railroad that goes completely across the United States.
Yep.
From we're gonna connect the coasts. Well, they start doing that, and then they have tactical decisions that come along. Well, we've got to go. There's a mountain in the way. We've got to go around the mountain, through the mountain, over the mountain. That's tactical.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
They didn't sit there and go, well, I'm just not going to build it because it's just too far. We can't do it. Well, that
Hmm.
decision's not, you have to. And I think
Yeah.
that's the point when you have a good strategy, the tactics, if you would, the decisions that come in there that's what's going to happen.
They become easier to implement when you have the strategy in
Yeah.
place properly. They become easier to implement,
You've
is what
got
you're
a
saying?
strategy in place. Everybody knows it's been well
Everyone's
communicated.
on board. Yep.
And
Everyone
then
bought
the
in.
tactics come in place and you refer back. Okay, we have this decision. We've got to price the tables. What are we going to price our tables at? Well, our strategy, we've got to raise $100,000. So,
Hmm.
and we said we were going to do that, with this fundraiser. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So tactically, does this align with the strategery of what we're doing?
Yes, sir.
I knew I was going to say that. It was going to come out at one point or another.
That's
Strategery.
my fault, man. That's my fault. Yeah, that's the Will Ferrell thing. Every time I think of the word strategy, I always think of
Yeah, I
strategery
do
from
too.
SNL with Will Ferrell. I'm sorry. Sorry, buddy.
Nuclear and strategery.
Yeah, yeah. I really love it. I like. Hey, things were a lot simpler back then when they were just making fun of people like that, and no one took it too seriously. That was. I wish we can go back to that time.
No
That'd be
kidding.
pretty awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
but I just think that we get caught up in the tactics sometimes and forget about the strategic decisions that are
Do you
being
think
made
sometimes,
for organizations.
especially with fundraising, do you think personalities can get in the way of making the proper tactical decisions? Do you
Oh,
think
absolutely.
personalities do?
Oh,
Yeah, I think so
big
too.
time.
Yeah.
And I think they do because I think it goes back to communication.
Hmm. Hmm.
Somebody goes because
I was
two
gonna allude to
people,
this. Yeah.
and I'll give you a great example. My wife and I come at the same thing completely opposite. I come at it, the glass is half full. It's ready. In fact, it's overflowing. Let's go. Hard charge down the path. She comes
Yeah.
at it, the glass is empty.
It's like,
You have to prove
hmm,
to her that there's something in the glass. Now I see it,
hmm.
and so she wants to make sure. And we always typically come to the same conclusion. We just come at it from a different way. And I'm just
Interesting.
saying, I'm an optimist. She's a pessimist. You got to prove it to her. And I'm the person that goes in going, oh yeah, that deal's great. This is going to be wonderful. And then I find out going, well, this isn't so good after all. And yeah, I'm not, she starts out
I'm this.
disappointed. She starts
I'm
out
this.
the other way. She goes, no, I don't think that's going to be very good. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
this is not, no. Oh, all of a sudden she goes, oh, wow, that was really good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you should see all of us together. It's really awesome because Jason and I are so common, or so similar, and our wives are so similar. But like, we'll go like, I'll have an idea, and like, I'm already out the door, and I look around, and it's just like
Well,
I'm
and
by myself, and I
this
look
is a
back, and my wife's
really,
still standing there. He's like,
yeah,
"What are we doing?"
yeah.
You know
But
what
my
I'm saying?
point, this will make the point. Both have the same strategy, but our tactics are different to get to the same
Totally.
place. It's just the way we come at it is different. And so the same thing happens in organizations, with boards and committees and staffs and
Staffs. Yeah,
everything else.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
our group across the board, we've got everybody's a little bit different. And
Yep.
that doesn't mean that they don't all know the same strategy. Their tactics are just a little bit different. Maybe it's an emotional tactic, the way that, like we're talking about. Um, a friend of mine just said, well, I just figure everybody's stupid, and that way I'm surprised when somebody's not, versus the other way around. Um,
Totally. Yeah.
and it's
That's
just
awesome.
so. I think the way that organizations get by that is number one, is that they keep what's our strategy, and they keep that in front. Number two, when we do make these tactical decisions, we're making them measured against what our overall strategic goal is.
Makes sense to me. Well, it just means being thoughtful. And at the
Well, it is.
onset, we were talking about, I just think it means being thoughtful, communicating amongst
Mhm.
yourselves, making sure everyone's on the same page. And, things inevitably are going to come up, of course, and things of that nature. But keeping your eyes on the prize, I think, is important. So, um, yeah, I think it's
Well,
good,
it's
man.
funny
I
how
think it's good.
it concludes. I mean, we do it all the time. We get caught up in stuff, and we start making decisions um, based on a tactical decision based on an emotional response to something that's happened versus the overall strategy. So here,
Yes.
let me give you an example.
Interesting.
Let me give you another example. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so let's say that we say we're going to sell, and I'm just making this up. So
Okay.
we're going to sell, we're going to do a raffle, and
Yep.
we're going to sell an arm's length 10 tickets for a
Tickets.
100,
Yep.
or
Yep.
a wingspan for 250.
Okay.
We say that's what we're going to do, and we go through and we do it. And after it's all said and done, we raise $30,000. We do this deal, have the drawing. It's really great. But somebody comes back and they go, man, this was really hard. We had to stand there. It took 4 people to do it because somebody had to stretch the tickets out, and it took a lot of time, and there was some confusion. We didn't get all the numbers exactly right. We had some people that put their number down and didn't pay. We had how many people, and they do. So they start with that, and they start thinking, well, let's just throw the whole thing out. Well, is it the tactic? Was the tactic sound? Maybe the execution of the tactic wasn't quite as good. Maybe we could fix that. And, is it worth the hiccups we had, the bumps and bruises, to raise $30,000? And we back up and look at it like that and go, oh, yeah, well, we did. Don't lose sight of what you're doing. It'd be like us having some trip where somebody has a bad experience, or because it does happen, and we're really good about taking care of it. We think we are anyway. I think we got a pretty good record of that. And it's the same thing. We're like, well, we're just never going to send anybody on that trip again. Well, that's not realistic. So we make sure that we, go through the process and evaluate that. Is it a sound tactic that fits our strategy? Yes, it is. Or no, it's not. But base it on that, not on an impulse. And I think in the nonprofit world and in the for-profit world, it doesn't matter, organizations, period. Things happen, doesn't go right. We get a flat tire. It's kind of like, you're driving along, you get a flat tire. Well, driving's bad. Should never drive a car again. Well, you just got a flat tire.
Yeah, or the car is wonky. Yeah. It's just a tire. Yeah.
So that's where I think
like it.
people start switching tactics without keeping that they switch to a different tactic that maybe doesn't fit the strategy.
Keep those things in line. Keep those
Well,
things
and
in
I
line.
think conversely, golly, it just seems like I'm going down a rabbit hole here. But I think conversely, I think sometimes people get so focused on what they're doing tactically that they never even think about stuff strategically.
Or like the end goal, or what are we doing this for? Who are we serving? Or no, I think it's huge, man. I think it's huge. Just something to keep in mind, that's for sure, and be aware of it. And if you're having any trouble with this, we're making ourselves available. So you can obviously email us at any time. We're making ourselves available if you want to have a discussion about tactics, strategy, all the above. Not necessarily your diet plan, because we're not nutritionists, but we do like talking about that kind of stuff. Thanks so much.
Peace out.